Greetings, it's Valerie here from Woman Wise Health. Now, I just quickly wanted to run through these clinical studies here, or these studies that I came across. And the reason I'm doing this is because when it comes to a hysterectomy, many of us are unaware of the long-term implications of the procedure. And now I it was a while back that I was reading something about dementia and various other diseases that were on the increase, particularly in women. And I was wondering why that was. And then suddenly it clicked. And I thought, well, with the increasing numbers of women having a hysterectomy, especially in the US, where I think it's around 600,000 women are having this procedure every year. So that's is a lot of women walking around without a womb. And and I was thinking, well, with the increase in all these other type, what we call diseases in inverted commas, I began wondering, is there a correlation with hysterectomy? So as I do, I started researching and I had a poke around and I came up with the following studies that I'm going to share with you. So this one, as you can see, is about hysterectomy, oophorectomy, estrogen, and the risk of dementia. And if we scroll down, you'll see here that we hypothesize, and of course they're going to hypothesize and theorize all they like because they're not exactly going to say, yes, this is definitely a correlation, and yes, a hysterectomy will definitely lead to this. They're not going to do that. And also, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because many of us, or I speak to many women actually, who feel that they're out of control with when it comes to their own health and well-being, that they don't have a say in the matter. In actual fact, you do. You are the authority in your own health, and any other person involved with that is there to just give you some general advice, give you tests and stuff like that, so you know what's going on. But ultimately, the decision is yours, because if anyone tells you that you need a hysterectomy and your alarm bells start going off, your internal gut feel is to say no, then decline it. Go with your feeling, go with your gut. But anyway, get back to this study here. So they say we hypothesize that both hysterectomy and oophorectomy may have a harmful brain effect via direct endocrinological mechanisms or other complex mechanisms. So they say an estrogen deficiency appears to play a key role in these associations, and estrogen therapy may partly offset the negative effect of surgeries, which is why when you have a hysterectomy or you go through the menopause or something like that, they'll give you something like HRT or an equivalent to balance out the estrogen that the ovaries would have normally made. So that's why they do that. So there's this other one here, which is to do with an increased risk of osteoporosis with hysterectomy. So if I scroll down here and find it, it says here women who undergo hysterectomy will experience, they're not hypothesizing here, have you noticed that? Greater gradual bone mineral loss than women with an intact uterus and have an increased risk of osteoporosis. It's not just to do with, you know, not eating enough dairy for calcium, because to tell the truth, dairy is not necessarily a good source of calcium, even though that's what we're told. There are other more natural sources. But let's not go there because that's not what this is about. This is about women who have a hysterectomy and are not told about the long-term consequences of having her hysterectomy, and also a fact that you're removing what I consider, yes, it's my own personal opinion, to be the seat, the powerhouse of what makes a woman a woman. So you see, removing the uterus is something that involves deep consideration on a woman's part, if especially if um, it's for something like fibroids, endometriosis, heavy bleeding, things like that, where their first line protocol, so to speak, is a hysterectomy rather than another procedure. So if you feel that a hysterectomy is not what you want, or it's not what you want, then go with that and then ask for other procedures and see what else can be done rather than having your womb removed, because you don't have to do that if you don't want, if that is not what you want. So let's have a look at this one. So you've got another one here to do with hysterectomy, increasing the risk of heart disease. Now, heart disease used to be primarily um, a man's disease, but now women are fast catching up. And again, this is due to the fact that you're removing a vital organ. Now, some women would disagree that the womb is a vital organ, but if it's going to increase your risk of dementia, osteoporosis, heart disease, and lead to what we call pelvic floor dysfunction, I'll beg to differ on that. And again, it's because we're not told. We do these things, or we agree to these things, even though our internal alarm bells are going off, simply because we haven't been told about our bodies. We're living in bodies that we really don't know anything about. Because when something goes wrong, instead of listening to what we really need, that we get scared because there's a lot of fear based things out there. There's a lot of things to keep up the fear factor, so to speak. So we get scared, then we go to who we regard as, authority figures. We go to see our doctors or something like that, who we expect to serve us with our best interests at heart. That's what we expect. But when we go in, sometimes our symptoms or what we describe to them are disregarded, we're dismissed, we're told it's all in our head. I recall actually having a conversation with one woman who she said she was prescribed some medication. I asked her what that medication was. She gave me the name, and then I looked it up. And she was told that they were to help with her heavy bleeding. And in fact, they were what recall antidepressants. So essentially, that doctor thought she was probably a bit, over the top with her symptoms, and thought, okay, I'll just tell her these are for her symptoms. But in reality, he was giving her something for depression, which is absolutely ridiculous. But that's another subject for another day. Anyway, so yes, when it comes to hysterectomy, it can also lead to pelvic floor dysfunction. And of course it was, because what you're doing when the womb is removed is that you're cutting all the blood vessels, all the ligament, all the things that attach the womb to the body. Yeah, they're all being severed. And you're going to have this gap. So all your organs are going to move downward. And this is what causes that little, what you call a muffin top that little spare tire that a lot of women can't get rid of, simply because the organs have moved down, because there's space for them to move into. You see, the womb is a structure that holds everything in place, but when you remove it, that structure is no longer there. Things are going to shift. And the most concerning thing about a hysterectomy to me is now they're using uteruses as in to implant into other women. And, you know, women are getting pregnant from another woman's womb. Now, for me, that is pretty scary. Okay, fair enough, if women, because there's a lot of, what do you call it? There's a definite decrease in fertility rates. Um, that is obvious if you don't only have to just go and research the statistics for that. But this is worrying. You've got women who were told, or who have been told, that they need a hysterectomy, and who've probably wanted children but will never have the opportunity to do that. And then their wombs are being planted into other women that they're probably going through a procedure where they clean them up, remove the fibroids and whatever, and they're preserving them somehow. And then they're implanting them into other women who's using, say, for instance, your womb to have a baby that you'll never be able to have. Okay, a bit extreme, but then that's that. You'll find out in time that I tend to go there. Um, for me, that's very worrying. But I wanted to share this with you because I feel it's important that you are aware of the implications of a hysterectomy. Yes, it's not an easy decision, and I do understand that some women do go away and think hard about it. But one thing that really upsets me is when I go into groups and I see other women literally telling other women to beg their gynecologist for a hysterectomy. Now, I a hysterectomy, I just give thanks every day that despite having two procedures myself, I still have my womb, I still have my ovaries, and I know that because after both operations, my cycles continued. I took matters into my own hands, especially after the first operation, which removed several large fibroids, simply because they started growing back, or the ones they left in there started getting bigger. And I thought, hell no, no more operations for me, apart from the second one I had. But after that, I thought, no, I'm having no more procedures. That's just not happening. And that is what spurred me into action. It was the biggest kick up my behind, if you like, which is why I delved so deep. I started Woman Wise Health solely on the back of what I was going through. It was never meant to be something that I developed to help other women, but that's exactly what happened, because the information I found out was too valuable not to share it. I thought it was selfish of me not to share it. So I hope this has given you a bit of an insight and will allow you to think more about having this procedure. If anything, what will help is if you go onto the Hearst Foundation, excellent website. I'm on there a lot of the time. And if you go into the tab that says female anatomy, there you'll have an 11-minute video which will teach you more about your anatomy than you ever learnt at school. It's brilliant, and it's going to help you appreciate what you have. Okay, so and also downloads the Fibroid Starter Toolkit. I'll leave a link in the description below. That is, I'll say, yeah, the Fibroid Starter Kit rather. That's going to really help you get to grips with the underlying causes. This is my main thing. I developed a system, a program that is based on what I call the EUC framework. EUC framework. And it's all about identifying what the underlying root causes are. You see, many people think it's to do with hormonal imbalances, estrogen dominance, fibroids are the cause of the heavy bleeding. Those are not the root cause. They themselves are symptoms, right? There's a deeper layer, or several deeper layers, which many women who try the natural route are not addressing, which is why many fail and then blame natural healing, and then they say it doesn't work. Natural healing does work, but there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more work that needs to be done, as opposed to just swapping medication for supplements and tidying up your diet, even though those are really good things to do. And I'd always encourage people to do that anyway. But for chronic long-term problems like fibroids, severe clotty heavy bleeding where your bathroom looks like a horror scene, you need to delve a bit deeper than that. And the Fibroid Starter Kit is a good starting point. It's going to give you an idea of what your underlying symptoms are, and you got the diet and lifestyle analysis in there as well, which is going to help you address the diet part, because I know diet is something that many of you struggle with. All right, so I'm going to leave it there, and I hope you found this insightful. Remember, go to the HERS Foundation, download the Fibroid Starter Kit, and I will see you next time. All right, bye for now.